Hello everyone, today in this video we are going to be talking about those linear equations again, but this time we're going to be talking about real life situations. So let's open up to this page in our packet and follow along with me as I go. So let's read the first example. It says Reggie has a $60 gift card to Quick Trip. He spends $4 each day on soda and chips. So let's think about our two different things that we're talking about. We're talking about time, so how many days, and we're talking about money on the gift card. So let's label our X and Y. So for X, that normally has to do with time. So in this situation, that is our number of days. And our Y is how much money is on the gift card. So to start, at 0 days before we spend any money, the gift card has $60. And then after the first day, it goes down $4 because he spent $4. So we are going to subtract 4 to give us 56. So let's continue that pattern and see what happens. So on day 2, we're going to subtract 4 again, giving us 52. On day 3, we're going to subtract 4 again, giving us 48. On day 4, we are going to subtract 4 again to give us 44. Day 5, we're down to 40. Day 6, we're down to 38. And that pattern continues until the gift card is all gone. So let's graph this and see what it looks like on a graph. Before we even do any graphing, we need to label this graph to the side. So we just said that our X was number of days. So I'm going to label that down here on our graph. Number of days is going to go on the X-axis, and this is always 0 in the corner. And our Y was money on the gift card. So let's label that. Always a good thing to label your graph. And then we need to count or label our numbers as well. So on our X-axis, we are doing number of days, and that's going by 1. So I'm going to label the whole X-axis counting by 1. So do that right now. Okay, so I counted by 1, starting at 0 all the way, and it stopped at 20 for me on that X-axis. So if you need to pause and do that on your paper, do that right now. All right, now that we have that labeled, we are going to label the Y-axis. So let's look at our Y-axis, and we need to get all the way to 60 at least, because that was what we started our gift card with. Now, if I count by 1s, I'm not going to get all the way to 60. So I probably need to count by something other than 1. Now, what would be really nice, since we were subtracting 4 every time, let's count by 4s. That would make it way easy when we do that down, when we graph our points. So let's count by 4. So starting with 0, we're going to go 4, 8, 12. And if you want to pause and continue that pattern, do that right now. So I finished filling out my Y-axis. Make sure you're counted correctly when you do it on your graph. I counted by 4 each time, adding 4 for every little part of my graph. And now we can plot our points that we have in our table. So let's do that. Let's see, at 0, we need to be all the way up here at 60. At 1 day, we were at 56. So let's put that point right there. Keep that going. 2, we were at 52. 3, we were at 48. 4, we were at 44. Look at this lovely straight line. 5, we were at 40. 6, we were at... Oh, I think I put my point wrong. Let me fix that. We were at 36. If I subtracted wrong on my table here. Okay, so 6, we were at 36. And then that pattern continues all the way down our graph, giving us a straight line. So let's make that straight line as best as we can. If you need to use something straight to help you out, I would do that. And there's our straight line. So we have graphed our linear situation of this gift card. And now we're going to use that information to answer some questions below. So let's see. The first question says, how much money will be left on the gift card after 6 days? So let's look at 6 days on our graph or our table, actually. We could look at both. And if we go up, we were left with 36. And now make sure, since this is a real life situation, you label that 36 what? In this situation, we were talking about dollars. So after 6 days, there is, $36 left. Really tell me what it means. All right, let's look at the next question. It says, how long will it take us to use half of the card? Well, if we started with $60, half of that would be 60 divided by 2 would be $30. So how many days did it take us to get to $30? So let's see. If we look at 6 days, we were at 36. Then at 7 days, we were at 32. And on the 8th day, we went down to 28. So I would say after 7 days, we had about, we'll say, 7 or 8 days, we could say, about half of the card left. So we talked about this last week, and let's think about this equation. What could we write as an equation of this line? So to write that equation, we need 2 things. We need to know what was the M and what was the B. So let's look at our graph. When we graphed, we began on our y-axis at 60. So that's helpful. Our B was positive 60. And then let's look at our slope. Now be careful because we didn't count by ones like a lot of our other graphs. So when I did my slope from that first dot, from this dot right here to my next dot, you would think we went down 1 and right 1, but really we counted by 4s. So this one space was going down 4, and we did count by 1 on our x-axis. So we did go right 1. So down 4 would be a negative 4. And right 1 would be a positive 1, giving us a slope of just negative 4. So let's fill that out down below. We have a slope of negative 4. And our B was right here at positive 60. Let's make that into an equation. All right, let's see. So we said M was negative 4. Let me get a skinnier pen. M was negative 4 and B was 60. So if we are making an equation, y equals mx plus b, let's put those in the correct spot. Our M was negative 4 and x is going to stay x, and our b was a positive 60. So I'm going to put plus 60. And our last question says, how long will it take him to use the entire gift card? So if we are using the entire gift card, that means we would be down to $0 on the card. Well, let's see, when were we down to $0? 0 for dollars was over here. So that was at, it looks like 15 days. 15 days to use the whole card. Good job. All right, let's look at another example. Let's flip our page, everybody. Okay, here's our next situation. Let's read this together. It says, David just posted a picture on Instagram and he gets 2 likes per minute. So we're 2 different things here. It looks like we're talking about the number of likes we get and how many minutes since we posted that picture. So again, our X normally has to do with time. So let's put that minutes. So I'm going to say number of minutes for our X value. And for Y, we are going to say number of likes. So when I first post the picture at 0 minutes, I don't have any likes yet because I just posted it, so it's at 0 and 0. And then after 1 minute, it said we get 2 likes for every minute. So 1 minute, we have 2 likes. After 2 minutes, we would have about 4 likes. 3 minutes, add 2 again, 6 likes. 4 minutes, 8 likes, and let's keep going. 5 minutes, 10 likes, 6 minutes, 12 likes. Adding 2 every single time. So now that we have that filled out, let's fill out our graph. So let's label our graph like we did on the last example. Our x-axis was number of minutes. And our y-axis was number of likes. And then since these are pretty low numbers, we could count by ones on both of these. So I'm going to count my minutes by 1. So go ahead and pause and do that now. So I counted by ones on my x-axis and it ended me at 20. Now let's do the same thing on my y-axis. I'm also going to count by ones on my y because I don't need to get super high in my numbers on my y's. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and continue that with me. Pause your video and finish labeling your y-axis now. All right, check that out. Make sure you labeled your y-axis correctly, just like mine. I counted by ones. And we're going to plot some points. So let's look at our table on what we had at 0 minutes. We were at 0 likes, so 0, 0, we have a point. At 1 minute, we were at 2. At 2 minutes, we were at 4. At 3, we were at 6. 4 minutes, we were at 8. 5 minutes, we were at 10. 6, we were at 12. And so that continues all the way on. So let's connect our dots and put that arrow on the end for us. Awesome. Really make sure that line is very, very straight with an arrow on the end. So now that we have that all graphed, let's look at some questions below. So the first question says, how many likes will you have after 30 minutes? Well, let's look at our graph, and we didn't even get to 30 minutes. So I'm going to hold off on these questions, actually, because the next question, if I read it, it says, how long will it take me to get to 100 likes? So if I look at that, I only got to 22, so I'm not sure. I think it might be helpful if I make my equation of this. So let's make my equation. To do that, we need to figure out, we're going to do C first. We're going to figure out M, and we're going to figure out B of our graph. So with our B, we began on our y-axis at 0. So our B was 0 on this one. And then let's count our slope. So let's see. From this first point to the next point, we counted by ones on our graph. So we don't need to be careful on what we counted by. We went up 1, 2, and we went right 1. So we went up 2, right 1. Since we went up, that would be a positive 2. And right 1 would be a positive 1. So 2 divided by 1 is a positive 2 slope. So we have a slope of positive 2 and a B of 0. So let's make that into an equation. If we have a slope of 2, and we're making that equation y equals mx plus b. So let's see. Y equals m was 2. X is going to stay the same, and then plus 0, which honestly, we don't even have to put a plus 0. We could just say y equals 2x, and that would be perfectly fine. So we did this because we're going to use that equation to figure out the answer to our questions. So let's look back at question A. It said, how many likes will we have after 30 minutes? Now, looking back at our table and our graph, our number of minutes were the x value. So they're asking me what happens when x is 30. So, let's use our equation. Y equals 2x plus 0. And they're asking what happens when that x becomes 30. Well, let's figure that out. Let's plug it in. 2, put in parentheses a 30, which means 2 times 30 plus 0. So use your calculator. 2 times 30 plus 0. Type that all in, and you get y equals 60. So what does that mean? Let's write a little sentence to ourselves. What does that mean? After 30 minutes, we have 60 likes. That's what that means. 60 for y. Y was number of likes. Awesome job. Okay, let's read the next question. How long until we have 100 likes? Okay, so let's think about our equation again that we made. Y equals 2x plus 0. And this time they're asking about 100 likes. Now, if we again look back at our table and graph, number of likes was our y values. So they're asking me what happens, or when will our y equal 100? So I'm going to take that and I'm going to plug it in where the y is. So 100 equals 2x plus 0. This kind of looks like unit 1. We need to solve for that x. We need to figure out what the x is. So we can't type this into our calculator. We need to do some solving. I see I have a plus 0, so if I subtract 0, it's still 100. So 100 equals 2x, or 2 times x. So to get that x alone, I need to get rid of that 2. So I'm going to divide by 2. So x equals 100 divided by 2 gives me 50. So what does this mean? Let's think about this. So x is 50, y is 100. So x was number of minutes. So after 50 minutes, our y was 100, so we have 100 likes. Wow. All right, last question. Actually, today, you know what? I'm going to skip the last question and we are going to finish here. So now that we are done, I want everyone to go to Delta Math. And there is an assignment called Creating Linear Equations from a Scenario.